Star Wars episodes 10 through 12 are reportedly in the works, and Dark Phoenix director Simon Kinberg is set to write and produce. This comes from comic book movies Mark Cassidy. Now, major news for Star Wars fans here is Lucasfilms is reportedly developing a new trilogy with Simon Kinberg, X-Men, Dark Phoenix, enlisted to write and produce all 3 films alongside Kathleen Kennedy. Kinberg made his directorial debut with Dark Phoenix before going on to helm the 355. While these projects probably won't inspire much confidence, it's important to keep in mind that he will not be directing these new Star Wars movies, as far as we know anyway. Kinberg has written and produced a number of very successful projects, including the recent Deadpool and Wolverine. As far as the Galaxy Far, Far Away goes, he has previously worked as a co-creator in the Emmy-nominated series Star Wars Rebels, alongside Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck, and was a consultant on the Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Interestingly, Deadline believes that this new trilogy will continue the Skywalker saga with episodes 10, 11, and 12, but the trade does not note that this intel has been disputed, and some insiders claim that Kinberg will instead begin a new saga and sits alongside Star Wars percolating projects with James Mangold, Sharmeen Obaid-Chino, Taika Waititi, and Donald Glover. According to The Hollywood Reporter's follow-up report, the news story is not meant to be a continuation of the Skywalker saga, the name of the overall arc of the popular and pop culture dominating Star Wars movies known as episodes 1 through 9. The intent here is to have brand new characters in a new story and not to be a continuation according to sources, although that does not mean that some characters could not or would not pop up. We probably won't know for sure until Disney makes the trilogy official. We do know that Obaid-Chino's Rey-focused movie will be set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker. So if this does turn out to be a new sequel trilogy, will Rey also be involved? The untitled project was supposed to begin production before the end of the year, but appears to have been delayed. Star Daisy Ridley's addressed her return as the powerful Force wielder for the first time since Celebration during a 2023 interview with Collider. I was shitting myself before I went on stage because no one knew I was going to that, she said of her surprise appearance at the Celebration panel. No one knew I was going to Celebration, bar Kathleen Kennedy, and there were a couple of people. I was so nervous. Oh my God, it was such a wonderful reception. I'm very excited. The story is really cool. I'm waiting to read a script because obviously I don't have any other updates. It's not what I expected, but I'm very excited. Really remain tight-lipped about specific plot details, but she did reveal that she did appear to confirm that the movie will be the next big screen Star Wars project to enter production. I know the storyline for one film. That's not to say that that's all it is, but that's what I was told about. And I imagine it will be the next film, I think. I mean, again, I don't know, post-strikes and everything, how quickly everything will start up again. But yes, so far I know the story of one film, and I think people will be very excited. Okay, so hearing all of this, man, I don't quite know how to feel. Because, yes, Simon was involved with Deadpool and Wolverine, but Simon was also involved in The Last Stand and Dark Phoenix. Now, I don't know if that's a situation of maybe that's just a cursed storyline or a storyline that can't be done properly without really going hardcore to a particular thing and having all the rights to everything and all that. Maybe that is what hamstrung both of those projects. But that makes me nervous. Again, Simon has delivered some bangers. Let me go down his list real quick. So Simon Kinberg was an executive producer on Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's see. Did the 355, not super hot on that one. Did the New Mutants, not super hot on that one. Was an executive producer for Legion, great. Worked on Dark Phoenix, not too hot on that. I like The Gifted, but a lot of people didn't. Was a producer on Once Upon a Deadpool, Deadpool 2. Obviously, executive producer on Rebels, as mentioned earlier. Producer on Logan. Producer on Apocalypse. So all of the X-Men stuff, essentially, was a producer on Fantastic, or however people have been saying that shit, but was also a producer on The Martian. So, there's a lot. Days of Future Past, very hit or miss. Was also a producer on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the current show with Donald Glover and Maya Eskren and Paul Dano. Has definitely some solid stuff to his name as far as writing goes. Wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or wrote on it. Wrote the 355, wrote Dark Phoenix, wrote on Rebels, wrote Apocalypse, wrote Fantastic, that's what people have been calling it. Wrote This Means War, wrote the original Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr., wrote, it looks like, make sure I got this right. Oh, there was another Mr. and Mrs. Smith TV movie that came out in 2007, so not the one. And then, looks like the second movie, the first feature film. Oh, wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Jolie and Pitt, and then wrote XXX State of the Union. So, like, again, lots of hits and some pretty bad misses. So I want to give the benefit of the doubt here, because when Simon hits, he hits exceptionally well. It just can be scary knowing that you're not too far off from Dark Phoenix. But again, there's so much stuff going on at the same time. The rights getting ready to disappear, all that stuff. You can't hold it completely to him. And I think the reason why people, myself included, would get a little scared about this is because Star Wars has been so up and down for the last, say, decade. The scare is just that we really need it to be up. In the same way that with the MCU, we need it to be up. You just want to make sure you have something solid, because that can really change the landscape of what we're looking at going forward. So either way, I want to know what you think. Are you excited about the idea of Simon Kinberg taking it? Are you a little bit too nervous about the misses that he's had in his career to do it? I also think it's interesting that, like, the Rey film obviously is still going forward, how that might tie in. What do you think about all of that going forward? Let me know down in the comments.